Rising out of the flat plains of Champaran, a cluster of massive mounds are arranged in a distinct crescent moon shape. For centuries, locals and early explorers surveyed these overgrown structures and concluded they were royal tombs, monuments to long-forgotten kings from a pre-Buddhist age. Then, 19th-century archaeologists like Alexander Cunningham began carefully digging into the earth. Beneath the grass, they found charcoal, rusty ancient iron objects, and silver punch-marked coins, the first signs that these hills were actually the remnants of an expansive human infrastructure. The ruins belonged to the Mauryan Empire, governed by Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE. Ashoka controlled a vast territory stretching across the Indian subcontinent. He faced a severe logistical problem, unifying a fractured, culturally diverse population without any modern technology to transmit his laws. He solved this by engineering the landscape itself. Ashoka anchored his political power and his philosophy deep into the earth, using monumental architecture. Near the modern Nepal border, the empire quarried enormous 50-ton monolithic blocks of Chunar sandstone. Moving these stones required a massive coordinated engineering effort to transport and erect them vertically across the territory. Mauryan artisans then applied what archaeologists call a velvet touch polish. They ground the surface of the stone until it achieved a mirror-like finish, ensuring these 15-meter-high columns would catch the sunlight and command immediate attention in the ancient landscape. This is the Sarnath lion capital, the ornate crown that sat atop one of the pillars. The Persian-inspired animal motifs, like the 4-seated lions, communicated raw imperial strength, while also serving as a direct reference to the Buddha's Sakya lineage. Down on the main shaft of this broken pillar, you can see the core mechanism of Ashoka's communication strategy, the Major Pillar Edicts carved precisely into the sandstone. Written in the ancient Brahmi script, these characters functioned as a permanent public billboard. They continually broadcasted Ashoka's laws, promoting nonviolence, religious tolerance, and strict ethical conduct to anyone who passed by. These structures were state media transmitters, strategically placed to project the emperor's voice where he physically could not be. But the pillars were only half the system. The mysterious nouns rising from the plains were actually massive stupas, like this towering, multi-tiered brick structure at Kesariya. Over time, simple earthen mounds evolved into complex polygon foundations. Builders engineered distinct staircases, wide circumambulatory passages, and embedded thousands of bricks to form these deep geometric alcoves. Those alcoves were originally designed to house intricate, parallel rows of Buddha statues, each displaying specific spiritual gestures. Excavation records reveal that these stupas did not stand alone. They were the visible central markers of massive subterranean monastic complexes, known as the haras. The viharas operated as vibrant community hubs. They provided housing for monks and facilitated the daily study, practice, and preservation of Buddhist philosophy. While the sandstone pillars broadcasted Ashoka's message, the stupas and viharas physically built the localized communities required to sustain it. Modern excavations at sites like Taradi and Maner prove that the Mauryans chose these specific broadcasting locations for a highly strategic reason. We know this by examining the deep stratigraphy of the soil. This diagram shows how stratigraphy works. Over thousands of years, distinct layers of soil, ash, and structural debris stack on top of one another, creating a vertical, physical timeline of human civilization. Down in the lowest, oldest levels, archaeologists find Neolithic bone tools, spindle whorls, and early pottery. These areas were foundational human settlements long before any empire arrived. Moving up the trench into the middle strata, the soil reveals the Mauryan era, heavily marked by their signature northern black polished ware and cast copper coins. Look closely at the upper layers in this wide excavation shot. You'll find dense, heavy burnt brick wall foundations belonging to the much later Kushana and Gupta periods, proving these locations remained highly active hubs for centuries. This continuous, vertical stack of artifacts confirms a deliberate strategy. The Mauryans purposefully anchored their monumental architecture on deeply established ground to ensure maximum visibility. The pairing of edict pillars and massive stupas physically redefined the landscape of the Indian subcontinent. Through heavy stone and fired brick, an ambitious architectural campaign translated abstract philosophy into a persistent physical presence. The Mauryan state eventually collapsed. The massive stupas were swallowed by dirt and grass, and the physical empire vanished. Yet the core ideas carved into the stone survived. The visual language of these ancient monuments remains so potent today. The architecture Ashoka left behind forms the bedrock of modern Indian identity. You can see that direct survival right here on the official state emblem of India, which carries the exact same Mauryan lion motif. Ashoka's communication strategy was durable enough that its message outlived its creator by over 2 millennia.